Welcome to the Childcare Genius podcast, proud to be the world's #1 community for brilliant childcare leaders. Each episode will feature interviews with the brightest minds in the childcare industry to guide you into becoming a smarter business leader. Our hosts have opened 10 schools while raising 5 children. They are certified business coaches and are the top-selling childcare business book authors of all time. This episode is sponsored by Elif Childcare Insurance. Give Blake a call at 972-232-2258 to get a free quote on childcare business insurance today. Let's welcome to the Childcare Genius podcast, our hosts, Brian and Carol Dupre.
Hello, welcome to episode 53 of the Childcare Genius podcast.
We're your hosts, Brian Dupre
and Sindye Alexander.
Welcome, Cindy, to Maine.
It is great to be here, Brian.
So we're excited to have Cindy. We're up here this weekend. We're doing some annual planning for Childcare Genius for the next 18 months. And we're excited to have you up here. First time in Maine?
It is my first time in Maine, and it is beautiful. It reminds me a lot of home. Your home is absolutely beautiful. The lake is stunning. It's so peaceful here. I am just loving my visit.
Well, we love having you. And we decided we record 2 podcast episodes while we're here. So we're going to do back-to-back episodes. This is part 1 of a 2-part series. So we're going to talk about a couple different topics. We're going to pick your brain a little bit and have a nice little dialogue back and forth, hopefully be a blessing to you and your business. So pay attention, get ready for 2 incredible weeks of podcast episodes. So starting with episode 53, continuing and finishing next week on episode 54. So make sure you come back next week and hear the conclusion of our episode with Sindye Alexander. So Cindy, we're going to go into a little bit about our history. We've known each other for 6 or 7 years now. Mm-hmm. Time flies when you're having fun.
It really does fly. And I mean, we were fast friends from the moment that we met. We just found ourselves having so much in common and aligning. And I feel like my life has forever been changed since I met you, because you've become such a big part of it.
Yeah, we're excited. I remember meeting you at a conference in Arizona. Is that right?
Yeah.
In Phoenix?
Scottsdale area.
Scottsdale. Yeah. We were both there for a conference, and we just happened to sit together, just, randomly sit together, and we just hit it off. And you had a great personality. I loved your vision, and you had a school in Michigan at the time. And we just connected, and we talked, and we got to know each other, became friends, and, rest is history. Now we are 7 days later. Now we get to work together again.
I know it's, I don't know. Sometimes I have to pinch myself because we get to impact this industry and help so many childcare owners and directors to make their businesses a success. We have a lot of experience in different areas, and we kind of complement each other. I mean, you are the guru for sure, but I've learned a lot from you, and I feel like we bring different things to the table, and working together is just kind of a perfect fit.
Well, I've learned probably more from you than you've learned from me. You're a marketing whiz, a marketing expert, and marketing is such an important part of childcare business. So I've learned a lot. Your childcare email marketing system that you put together many years ago. I remember I was the first one to buy this thing, and that made me a lot of money in my business. It really was successful. So I knew how smart you were when I saw that email marketing system that you put together, which I thought was absolutely genius. And so that's how we connected, by you having that. And I'm like, oh, this is somebody I want to get to know. And we've been friends ever since. There was a time we didn't connect. You were working for a different company for about a year after I left, and we kind of lost connection there for quite a while. And you were just busy, and I was busy and kind of doing my own thing with real estate. So I'm glad we were able to reconnect, and we have a great history together. But the cool thing is we get to work together every day now, and we have a vision going forward, and we have a lot in common, don't we?
We really do. We really do. We just both so centered on our families. So we've had some failures and some wins in the childcare industry. We both have a love and desire to help other people and share our wisdom. I mean, our wisdom and our knowledge, help have people learn from the mistakes that we've made and the successes that we have achieved. And I feel like we can give people a shortcut to, achieving their goals and their dreams because of our experience.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those things we have in common.
Okay.
So we both started out in the childcare business,
Mm-hmm.
and we both have written a book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We both get zero proceeds from that book today, right?
Yeah, that's a long story, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what happens when your publisher doesn't pay royalties anymore to you. So the books that we wrote are out there. They're still being advertised, but we don't profit from them. Somebody else gets the profit from them, which is perfectly fine because I guess they need the money more than we do. So that's fine. Yeah, I've written some more books. Yeah, which is fine. We both have had health problems.
Yes.
Which is not easy going through health problems when you're trying to make a living.
Right. And and it's hard also to kind of keep your mindset positive, and especially, I mean, some people are there to help you and support you, and others don't know what to do or what to say, and they maybe abandon you.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Yeah.
People, because sometimes I think people don't know what to say,
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, doing good now, looking great, feeling good.
I am. I mean, I'm still going through some treatment, and I have to deal with it every day. And for those of you that don't know, in 2020 I was diagnosed with a form of colon cancer, and I was able to have a couple of operations and remove the cancer. But because of the nature of how it spread, you'll have to be on chemo probably the rest of my life in some form or another. But it's treatable. It's a long-term treatment, and my prognosis is really, really good and really, really positive. So that's, my doctors aren't super worried. I mean, I know that's a big word and a big bomb, but if I have to deal with cancer, I think I have the best case scenario I could possibly get. And so I choose to stick with a mindset that says there's still tons of life and tons of possibilities ahead. And, I've never had a symptom of cancer. I never have, so I don't feel bad, I don't feel sick. Any symptom I've had has been from the medication that treats the cancer. So
way to live with it, push through it.
I count myself lucky.
You have a great mindset, and I love that. And that's how we are, perseverance. And we all have challenges. And my heart problems, doing good now. Just holding off. I'll have to have heart surgery eventually, but I'm pretty healthy. Try to keep my stress level somewhat moderated, exercise regularly, and you learn to live with what you have. You play the hand you're dealt. And if you're dealing with issues in there, the pity party won't help.
No.
Trust me, we tried it. And it's better off to just push through it, get your mindset right, and keep listening to us, because we'll help you get your mindset right. So we're going to take away some excuses here and move forward. We've both been in the same coaching group. We've sat right there. So we both have been fired from the same companies before. We both have amazing children and amazing families. And we're both blessed. We both live in northern climates. We're both used to snow.
Yes. And luckily we're
we're not used to it. We both tolerate it.
Oh, no. See, I kind of
you like it?
We differ this way. He loves the warm beach weather. I would prefer like an Alaskan snow cabin. So kind of funny.
I like snow. I just like it in a picture, maybe not in my backyard. Maybe one day a year I like snow, and then I'm ready for spring. So again, a lot in common. But the biggest thing we have in common now is our vision for the future of Childcare Genius and where we're heading and the people that we're going to help. It's all about who we can help and how we can make a difference in their lives. And we're laser focused on that. It's our mission to change the world one childcare center at a time. So we're going to move forward. We put the past behind us, where we don't look back. There's a reason your rear view mirror is much smaller than your windshield, because they don't want you looking back. And so we live a windshield life. We don't live a rear view mirror life. And But there's a lot of owners out there in childcare and in other businesses that spend so much time looking in the rearview mirror, they don't get to see what's in their windshield. And the whole world is your windshield. You can't change what's in your rearview mirror, but you can change what's in your windshield.
Yeah.
Rearview mirror is always going to be behind you.
It's a distraction.
It is a distraction, 100%. So we're going to pick some topics today and next week as well that I think you'll enjoy talking about. You've got a little history lesson on us now. But we are excited to be moving forward. And I think a good topic for us to segue into and lead in is let's talk about workplace culture. I mean, you wrote a book that really hits hard on workplace culture. You've done courses. There's other coaching programs even using courses you've created to this day. They must know how amazing you are that they're still using stuff you created years ago because the content is just brilliant. So let's talk a little bit about culture and how to improve workplace culture. I consider you the queen of culture. And what are some things that you can think about? Like we were talking this morning over breakfast. We had beautiful breakfast overlooking the lake this morning, and we were talking about fairness. We were talking about a culture crusher that a lot of people may not think is one. But what is a culture crusher? What is something that can crush a workplace culture? What does that mean?
So a culture crusher is basically something that you do as a leader, whether knowingly or unknowingly. And I will say, honestly, most of the time it's unintentional. You don't even realize that your actions or your words or your behaviors are somewhat dampening the culture and the motivation of your team. It could also be called a demotivator, culture crusher. It's something that just takes away the excitement and the enthusiasm of your team. And, the one that we were talking about at breakfast today was treating everybody equally. And you might, at first glance, hear that. And like, treating everybody equally, isn't that fair? Everybody deserves the same treatment. But that's not the case. If you have an excellent employee who is putting their all in and they are going above and beyond and meeting all of the requirements and everything that you expect, and then you have this other employee over here who shows up half the time, sits on the couch, you have to beg them to do their closing checklist, all of these things, and they end up with the same pay and the same raises and the same perks and benefits, and and your A players don't see any consequences for that behavior, or they don't feel any reward for going above and beyond. They're quickly going to become demotivated and not want to give their all. They're not going to want to put in all of that effort if they see that mediocre behavior gets you the exact same thing. And so that's just one example. I think there's about 32 culture crushers, examples of culture crushers in my book. Another good one, has to do, well, it's not one, it's actually 16 out of the 32 have to do with communication. What you communicate, how you communicate, how it's delivered, are there systems in place? How are you connecting with your team? Communication is such a big one, and you need to, be very intentional with getting the right information to your team the right way. So that's another one, just two.
And I could see how that can actually squash your culture and crush it just by people feeling like, what's the point? Why should I work hard?
Yeah.
What's the point? I'm going to get the same amount of money. Why should I work hard? We saw this a lot during the pandemic, when the government come in and just paid a lot of people extra money and paid people for sitting home. And they're like, why should I go to work? I can make just as much money or more sitting home. And that's created a mentality in our country, I think, of everything has to be even and I don't have to work any harder. I think we have to overcome that in our centers. And I think a lot of owners are dealing with the culture issue now. Is there any other ones you could think about that resonate with you?
As far as culture pressures go, I think a big one in our industry, because as working with childcare, so many of us got into it because we want to care for people. We want to show love and affection to children, and we're caregivers. And so we want to take care of our team as well, but sometimes we cross a line into becoming a mother or father figure and kind of enabling some behaviors or doing everything for your team, so they don't have to think for themselves, or they don't have to problem solve for themselves. They don't have to be accountable because we make it easy for them. And then we're like so bogged down and so overwhelmed, and we take it all. And then it's like a martyr mentality. And as leaders, we need to help them grow and not treat them like they're little children that can't think, or come up with an idea on their own. And so being a mother or father figure can you think you're showing care and love, but it's really setting you and your team back because it doesn't allow people to grow. Sugarcoating bad news too, it goes along with that. It's a culture crusher because you're not telling the truth. You're not communicating effectively. So there's a lot of them. We could talk for hours on this topic.
So if you ever heard the term culture crusher, here's the lady who coined the phrase right here. First one to use it. Other people use it now. People still resonate, but thank you for. I mean, it really does crush, and it pretty much squash the morale. Morale is a word we used in military a lot, and we call it culture, but it's the morale of your organization to get it excited or not excited. And as a leader, it's challenging.
It is. As a leader, you constantly have to grow and evolve and learn new things and improve your communication styles and your accountability factor. You have to grow so your team can grow.
Yep.
So
let's segue into leadership, since we just brought in leadership now. So let's talk a little bit about leaders. Now, a lot of our owners are childcare owners that were former teachers, educators, although I've gotten recently some attorneys, some doctors who've gotten in the childcare industry that were coaching, which is a whole different segment. But for the majority, they're teachers or former teachers with any kind of leadership training or business ownership training whatsoever. And I think that's where they're getting into trouble. Is how do I lead people where I've never taught? It's not like they teach you in college leadership. They don't teach it in high school, and you kind of have to learn it the hard way. And if you watch shows like The Office, probably not a good example of leadership. Cindy's favorite show,
that's one of my favorite shows.
So it's not a good example of how you run a childcare program. No. And there's a lot of other TV shows that aren't really good on leadership as well. So without this training, our owners are going to be kind of in a blind. That's where we come in. We do a lot of leadership training with our owners and stuff. Can you identify any areas that you think people are weak in, and as far as leadership, that are some ideas to help them?
Well, I think that a lot of owners and directors have a hard time when it comes to having to confront their staff or discipline their staff, or correct might be a better word, because a lot of times it's just a matter of tweaking a behavior or getting them to follow a procedure the way it's written rather than taking a shortcut along the way. And it can feel confrontational when you have to go up to somebody and say, okay, I see that you did the thing, but you didn't do it according to our, the way we do business here. And so I need you to follow this procedure. And, there's a reason why, and, go into the reason why. And, so many, because we work with directors in our Childcare Genius University, or I work with the directors a lot, and so many of them bring questions like, how do I do this, or what do I say, or what do you do when your team is just blatantly not doing what you told them to do? And you really have to have a backbone and get up the courage and psych yourself up to have that conversation, but do it in a way that is not, how do I say, judgmental. You can bring it back to your core values, your mission. You didn't do this procedure, and the way that we operate is X, Y, and Z, and it's because of this core value, and we need to demonstrate that in all that we do. So if you can find a way to bring it back to your mission, your vision, your curriculum, your philosophy, those abstract things, it's not about I didn't like what you did. It's that this is the mission we're on together, and this is how we have to do things, because licensing said so, because it aligns with our curriculum, it aligns with our core value, and that's why. So I think why is a big reason.
Love that.
Yeah.
All right, let's segue into ego of the owner. And a lot of times I'm hearing things about, DEF players. It's a term that a lot of groups use now. I just call them, well, I don't want to use the term that I call them, but it's kind of the people that are just, they're warm bodies filling a room. And during the hiring crisis, we really didn't have a choice. We did the fog test. If they fogged a mirror, they got the job, right? And a lot of them become DEF players, GHIZ. We had a few Z players, right? We all have them in there. And now that the hiring crisis is easing, lessening, whatever word we want to use here, at least it is for our clients, because we have a really cool proprietary system that we work with, and inside our childcare genius unit, we work with a company that has solved the hiring problem of most of our members. But anyway, so they're able to start replacing some of these people. Mm-hmm. And what I've noticed is I have met some owners that are the problem. Mm-hmm. Ego gets in the way. And let me tell you, here's the thing. If you have people quitting your company, you have a culture problem. If you're firing people constantly, you have an ego problem.
Yeah.
And I've seen it where people who disagree with you, you terminate them. That means your ego doesn't handle criticism. I've also seen people like if the director or somebody in your company start shining, you squash them because you want all the credit for your success in your business or your childcare business. So you want to get rid of that, because all of a sudden now the light starts shining on them who can't have that, because I'm the owner and I am the superstar here. And that's ego. And there's a book by Ryan Holiday called Ego is the Enemy. And it is one of my favorite books. It's kept me humble. And I think it was Abraham Lincoln that says, you can do anything in this world if you don't care who gets the credit.
Yeah.
And I've always been like that. I always try to push credit down into my organization, my childcare business, my coaching business, and my real estate business. And I'm just that kind of person. But can you see how ego can get in your way of your business? You got to humble yourself.
It comes from a place of you've worked hard to build what you have, but I think any smart leader knows that the way to get ahead further and faster is to surround yourself with people who know more than you, who've already done it, who can do it better than you. It not only is kind of like a shortcut to success, but it's also like a time freedom enabler. When you can step out of things and step out of projects, and step out of micromanaging every little thing, you're going to accomplish way more, way faster, and have a bigger impact than if you're just trying to control it all yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's my thought about it.
So be humble. Never be afraid to push credit down to your team. Mm-hmm. And realize that you are replaceable as an owner. If something happens to you, your business has to succeed. So the more the spotlight shines on you, that's never going to happen. So be careful about your ego. Be humble. As your business grows, stay humble, and let your team see that humbleness. Don't let them see you being everything always about you.
And you just said something. Don't be afraid to push credit down to your team. That's one of the best ways, maybe a culture celebration. The best ways to get more out of your team is to recognize them constantly for the work that they do, the efforts that they made. When you notice little things as simple as, I love the new labels, on the shelves in your classroom. You did a really great job. Those are so cute. Can you show Miss Mary how to do that? Because I'd like all the labels to look like this. When you recognize even the small things, but there's specific things that your team has done, they're going to want to do more of that.
That idea, let's coin a phrase. Culture accelerators.
Culture accelerators.
Oh my God, I love that.
I love it.
Every coaching program is going to be stealing that now. So if you hear the term culture accelerators, you know where you heard it first, because everybody steals our stuff. So Why not? There's only like 2 original ideas in the whole world.
Yeah.
And we had them. And everybody's kidding. That's ego. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But another thing, when it goes along with leadership, is what I've seen a lot is a lot of self-sabotage of business. And what that is a fear of success. And one of the big fears in leadership, John Maxwell talks about this, there's fear of public speaking, there's fear of failure, but another big failure is fear of success. And what happens is, as your business starts growing, you actually purposely self-sabotage. Maybe you get rid of somebody in your organization that was a key player because you don't want to grow. You're kind of happy where you're at. You don't want to expand your business because you're afraid of success, because, oh my God, what happens if I do succeed? Your business never outgrows your self-image. So if you have $1 million self-image, your business will never reach 2 million. If you have $100,000 a year net income mentality, you'll never make 105,000. So you have to expand your self-image to match your business growth. And if you do decide to expand, you've got to expand your mind before you expand your business. And that is why mindset is so important. That's one of the things we teach in our university so heavily is mindset, because without the $1 million mindset, the business will never get to that point. You've got to have a mental $1 million business long before you have a physical $1 million business.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and a lot of times that that fear of success, you don't even realize that you have a fear, and you do some self-sabotaging behaviors, but you don't realize where it's rooted yet.
True.
So if you are in leadership and you're wondering why you're not growing, maybe check that within yourself. Do a little bit of self-exploration and find out if you're afraid of, what will happen, or maybe you might be afraid that you can handle 10 more employees or X amount on your payroll, because you've never experienced it before. But realize that all of your life, like, you've grown and you've accomplished things, and you have done hard things in the past. You can do more hard things, and you can continue growing. You've already accomplished so much. You can continue, but you might need some help. You might need some support. You might need some new friends. You might need to join, a group, or find a mentor, or find some podcasts. This is a great one, to help you, expand your mind and expand, just your thought process, and fortify that self-image. Find some great books. I mean, there's so many things you can do to elevate your leadership and elevate your mindset, and you have the power to make that change. You do.
It's confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Building confidence. John Maxwell, any book by John Maxwell, we'd recommend, because he's the leadership guru and he's the confidence guru and the mindset person.
And we're both John Maxwell certified coaches.
We are. And I'm so glad. I mean, I was the first John Maxwell certified coach in the childcare coaching realm. And I'm glad I brought a lot of other people in, because I saw it's so important, because without mindset, the team never grows. And now a lot of coaching programs have mindset as a basis. Because I knew that my business would never grow without it. I actually have a negative self-image and I lack confidence. So I have to constantly be working on it. And it's from childhood, and always be told what I couldn't do instead of what I could do. So you create a negative image of yourself. And a lot of you have rooted from your childhood issues that keep you stuck. And that's where mindset comes in. You have to work on that. And it's one of those things that's like a tomato is either getting ripe or it's rotting. There is no status quo. And it's the same thing with your mindset. Your mindset's either getting better or getting worse. There's no status quo. Your marriage is getting better or getting worse. There's no status quo. So the things you don't work on will suffer in your life, in your marriage, in your business. You have to work on these things continually. You have to constantly evolve. And so I think it's good. We're covering a lot of good stuff here. So why don't we go ahead and segue into, I got a list here. How about hiring? Let's talk a little bit about hiring, since we're on that line of thought with the culture and with leadership. Let's talk a little bit about hiring. We'll wrap up this episode, talking a little bit about the hiring process. Um, Hiring was an issue last year. I mean, during the pandemic, it started. We never really saw a problem till about a year ago. Um, what are you hearing on the street with as far as hiring?
Well, yeah, I think hiring, finding and also retaining staff in general, let alone quality staff, is the biggest pain point of any program that I've talked to. So it's still something that will needs to be worked on. We need some improvement, but we are also hearing from our members that they are starting to fill those vacancies and find better players and people that want to work. So I think that the hiring crisis is lessening, but I don't think it's completely solved yet. I think if you are having trouble with hiring, I think that the first, it's kind of like a big picture, longer term thing that you need to do to solve that is to make sure that you have a great reputation in your community, because word of mouth and reputation in your community spreads, and people want to be a part of an organization. The job seekers kind of have their pick of where to work, and they want to work for a place that's making a difference, that has a great culture, that has a mission that they align with. They want to feel like they're making a difference. And so if you have any kind of questionable reputation, that's not going to be helpful in finding employees. But that's kind of something you have to build over time. So if that's a problem, start working on that. But in addition to that, you need to have some fun and pizzazz in your hiring ads. You need to treat your interviews like you're treating tours. You have to sell your future employees on why they should want to work for you. I mean, don't exaggerate or promise things that are not true, but you really need to be able to to spin and get that team or that potential team member to see the benefits of working for your program. And you have to have a really, really great culture. That's part of that reputation. Teacher testimonials, even in your hiring ad, would be great. Definitely on your careers page. And it's really simple to add a careers page if you don't have one. What else about hiring?
When somebody comes in, that first impression of your school, I mean, is there trash in your parking lot?
Yeah.
What's your center smell like? The things you think about for a tour, because we have a tour checklist that we promote in our organization and coaching. You should have an interview checklist. You ever think about the smells in your school, the sounds, a kid screaming in the background? Who the heck's going to want to work at that? Like, think about the background. Do you want to interview them, in an office? What do you want them to see? What are the smells in your school? Do you interview during nap time, which is the quiet time? So you show them at least a little bit of passive. Would you rather do it during chaos? It's okay. This is what it's normally like. Really think about what somebody's first impression is going to be of them and you. How are you dressed as the director? Do you have, spit up on your shirt, which some directors and some owners walk around, they got a bleach stain from doing the thing in their shirts. They don't take pride in it because they know the kid's going to puke on them before the end of the day. But, that's a first impression as well. Yeah. And another thing that we've been teaching people to do is always do a Zoom interview first before you do a live interview. Something I've been teaching for a while, something we do at our schools, because a Zoom interview gives you a chance to eyeball them and build up their confidence in you. So let me give you an example. Right now, it just seems like during the pandemic, and if you look at the people medicated for depression and anxiety since the pandemic, it's like doubled, skyrocketed. So a lot of the people who are applying for you have anxiety, and they have social anxiety since the pandemic of actually being in person and talking to people. I know my children even don't like talking on the phone. They don't like face-to-face interaction because everything is texting now. So a lot of people in that younger age group, in the 24 to 32, they would rather do things virtually than do things in person. Well, they might have anxiety for going in and doing one-on-one interview with a stranger. Do a Zoom interview first. It gives them a chance to feel like they know you. You become a friend. You become somebody where they're not afraid to come in and do a live interview. I've had people tell me, "Oh my God, I had 80% no shows last month in my interviews." This is one of the reasons why you're getting the no shows. They're just afraid to come in. They are, but that Zoom interview will lower your no-show percentage significantly, because then they feel it's more like, okay, I'm going in to see somebody I've already met. And it's a chance for you to eyeball them. If they come to the interview and their hair's all disheveled, they got lettuce hanging out of their teeth and they got a big skull tattoo on the side of their face. Not that somebody with a skull tattoo on the side of the face would be a bad teacher, but it might be good to know on the Zoom interview if that's something you're looking for. Not to prejudge, but that's what we do in an interview. We prejudge people. That's what you're doing. You're looking for the best quality, and you're looking for somebody that, will this scare my parents when they come in?
And I think the benefit of a Zoom interview is, the faster that you can respond to an applicant, the more likely you have a chance of hiring them. And when, if you get a resume, at 10 a.m. and you call them back by noon or 1 and say, hey, can you hop on a Zoom this afternoon? I'd love to chat with you just for a couple minutes and talk about the possibility of an interview. And that they're excited because, oh my gosh, they feel wanted because you've contacted them right away and you can make that connection with them right away.
Keep in mind that you're naive to think they're only applying with you.
Oh yeah, they're applying everywhere.
Especially in today's world, they could drop 100 of them by pushing a button. So you're very naive to think you're the only one. So if you're like, oh, let me go look through these apps, I'll sit on the weekend, I'll sort it through it. That was the old days.
Yeah.
When you get 100 apps for one application, now you're getting one applicant for 100 positions. These things are different.
Yeah, it used to be that you could, pick your top 5 and have first interviews and second interviews and drag the process out for 2 or 3 weeks. People are not waiting anymore. Yeah. Now they have their pick. They have which center do I want to work at, or which job do I want to take?
You'll listen to podcasts, just from 2 years ago that says, slow to hire, quick to fire. It is now quick to hire, but quick to assess, meaning that you want to get them in quick, but you want to quickly assess whether they are within first 30 days. You got to know if they're the right people. And sometimes you might find out during your onboarding, this is not a good fit, but you're better off to get them in, get them working, try them out. You could always get rid of them. Most states within 4 or 5 weeks, you're not hit with the unemployment hit if they terminate in that time. It's like a trial period.
Yeah.
Don't call it a trial period, because some states that could obligate you, like contractually almost. So be careful about how you have your lawyer look at your probationary period, whatever you have in there, just to make sure it's legal in your state. But just be careful. When you do hire these people quick, make sure you're assessing them very quickly. Have a 30-day assessment, 7-day, whatever it is, and don't hang them around if they're not the right people. It's volume. Hire 3 for every 1 you want to get.
Yeah, and you should always be looking to hire. Because there's always somebody that you could replace. I hate to do that. You don't want to have a revolving door of people, but if you have a couple on your team that are not stellar, just because those vacancies are filled doesn't mean you can't hire, another person to come in and do a better job.
Yeah, agreed. We're hoping you check out our Childcare Genius University, because we could help solve that hiring problem. We have a secret weapon that we use. And I think you'd like that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Childcare Genius University in our next episode. We have a couple different topics. We're going to talk about character. We're going to talk about marketing, our university program, and maybe a nice secret topic too. So make sure you tune in next week. So we're going to conclude episode 53 of the Childcare Genius podcast. Thank you for taking time out of your busy life to listen to Sindye and I. We enjoyed having you as a listener.
And don't forget to subscribe to the next, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode.
Boy, you did that perfect.
Winged it.
Boy, Carol's going to think she's going to be out of a job.
Well, I live in Maine, so.
Well, it's good having you. And we will see you next week.
All right, bye.
Thank you for listening to the Childcare Genius podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please do us a favour and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a future episode. Don't forget to visit our website at childcaregenius.com to see a list of services we offer to help grow your childcare business. Until next time, thank you for being a part of the Childcare Genius community.